we will continue now with presentation by Carmen Carval and Michael Niers. I hope I speak the names out good. Thank you.
Perfectly. Yeah.
I don't even know how to pronounce my last name, so it's fine.
Okay. Your presentation is about acoustic exploration of river dolphin soundscapes in Suriname. I give you the floor.
Thank you. Can you guys see it now? Is
Yes.
presentation visible? And does the going to the next slide work?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
Okay,
go.
perfect. Well, we'll be presenting our presentation on the soundscapes of the Suriname River. And with we, I mean myself and Carmen. We are currently master students at Leiden University. And this research has been part of our master's degree. We've done this research also partly in collaboration with students from Anton de Kom University, such as Modesty, who you can see on the right picture here. So we'll be telling you a lot about underwater sounds. So we'll first be introducing you to underwater sounds in general, starting off with the history. The history of underwater sound research has been, well, not all that big. There's only recently been much more interest into it. It's often jokingly said that it started off as the part of the as an interest of the U.S. Navy. During World War II, their submarines were their communications were masked by all the sounds certain shrimp made, and that piqued their interest. But for the most part, there hasn't been all that much research afterwards, and most research has specifically targeted mammals. But it is very useful to learn more about underwater sounds, as the underwater world can be quite obscured from the human eye. We can't very well look into the water, and therefore acoustic research can really help shed a light on what actually happens underwater, and actually help visualize what can be heard underwater. So here, for example, we see a spectrogram that visualizes sounds being produced. On the left, you can see the frequency at which the sounds are produced. We actually see here the whistles of the Guyana dolphin, but we'll be coming back to them soon. For now, I'll be telling more about the different sounds that can be heard underwater. So we have different sources of sounds. So those can be biogenic, geogenic, or anthropogenic, which basically means they can be produced by organisms in the water or by other environmental factors, such as the waves or the wind, or by humans, by man-made sounds, such as boats and windmills that produce sounds. And all those different sounds together, they comprise the soundscape, the underwater soundscape, which, yeah, basically is a landscape of all the sounds that are produced. And lately, the interest has been very much on anthropogenic sounds, and specifically their effects on the soundscape, as they alter the soundscape quite a bit. Biodiversity can be monitored through sound as well, because there's more anthropogenic sounds, and because we can't very well look underwater, we can monitor how life unfolds underwater and how it sustains underwater through sound recording. Here we see a diver with a sound trap, which is a device that can be used for passive acoustic monitoring, which is a fancy way of basically saying having a recording device underwater for a longer period of time. And that way we can try to recognize patterns based on the sounds we hear. So for example, patterns tied to the tides or to day and night, etc. And we can compare data, baseline data with new environmental factors that may alter the soundscape, such as, for example, oil platforms, or new harbors that are being built and boats in general. On the right, we see the harbor of Paramaribo, for example.
Yeah, and these upcoming anthropogenic factors, such as, for example, the harbor, can really have an impact on the life in the water. So if for the people, I don't know if there are any non-Dutch speakers here, but these are two newspaper articles that say that on the top that starting this year, Suriname is going to start with drilling for oil in the country, which will result in a lot more man-made sounds, both from the oil drilling itself, but also the shipping of the oil and all the other things that come with it. And on the bottom, you can see that there's a newspaper article that talks about the expansion of the port in New Nikeri, which is on the left of Suriname, which will also result in a lot more sounds being non-biological. And this can really mess with the natural environment that a lot of species live in. And one of those environments is the Suriname River. You can see it on the picture here. For those of you that are not familiar with the general map of Paramaribo and Kommerwijnen, you can see on the left there's the Suriname River with Paramaribo over there, and on the right you can see the Kommerwijnen River. And these two rivers converge, which is a very special and unique natural environment. And in these two rivers, or on the sides of these two rivers, there's a lot of mangroves that grow there, which forms a very unique habitat. And on top of that, the water is very murky and turbid, which you can see on the picture on the right, which means that sound is more important because vision is very impaired. And for those of you that are interested, you can see on the top there's a small hook, and that is Braamspit. And within this Suriname River and Kommerwijnen River, there's a lot of faunal diversity. So a lot of species living there. For example, a manatee on the top left. You can see a forest fish on the top right. There's on the bottom left, there's a toadfish fish, which creates a lot of sound, which a lot of people don't know actually. But fish do rely on sound a lot. You can see snapping shrimp, which creates a lot of sound, which we like to refer to as a crackling fire. And of course, the Surinamese people are not unfamiliar with the dolphins that swim in the river. And these dolphins, the Latin name for them is Sotalia guianensis, but we refer to them as Guyana dolphins. They are cetaceans, which you can see on the right in the phylogeny, but they are not part of the Delphinidae group, which are the most prominent true dolphins that people imagine when they think of them. And these species is very widespread along the coast in South America. You can see that they are very prominently present, or they occur a lot in Suriname. But unfortunately, this doesn't mean that they are studied in Suriname. There's a lot of studies about them done in Brazil, but the Surinamese population has not been studied yet when it comes to acoustics. And when we think about the Suriname population, people often think about this picture, which is that the dolphins are very interested in the tourist boats and the people that want to make pictures of them, and even multiple boats that surround the population or the group that's present. And this is also an important part of Surinamese tourism and how and reason why people may come to the Paramaribo River or the Suriname River to look at the dolphins. But unfortunately, we do not know the implications of this. Oh, the light just went out. We have to wave and maybe it goes on again. But we don't know the implications of this tourism. We know that this is not natural for them because, of course, without tourism, they wouldn't be swimming around asking for attention. We don't know if they have less food this way because their attention is divided. We just don't know what this tourism can cause. Which brings us to our research questions or research aims. We first of all wanted to create a baseline study on the soundscape of the Suriname River. So far, or up until we went to Suriname, there wasn't any research done on the soundscape or the sounds that are present in the Suriname River, which we wanted to start off with. Then, like I said before, the Surinamese population of the Guyana dolphin also has been understudied when it comes to acoustics. So I wanted to describe their vocal repertoire. And then lastly, we wanted to explore if there were any interesting or potential fish sounds in the Suriname River, because these are also understudied in Suriname. Then we did this through passive acoustic monitoring, or PAM, which Michael already mentioned. We used a hydromoth, you can see on the top right, and sound traps on the bottom right, which we left in the water for multiple days continuously. And then we also did active recording for the dolphins, which you can see on the bottom left, which is a Tascam recorder with a hydrophone. And when you turn on the recorder with the hydrophone and you place the hydrophone in the water, it will start recording what's there at that moment, but you cannot leave the equipment overnight.
Yeah, so firstly, with the passive acoustic monitoring, we use the sound traps to set them out on different places throughout the Suriname and Kommerwijnen River. We made 8 recordings of 7 or 8 days on 7 different locations. And this resulted in quite a lot of sound data. And we tried to find different spots along the Kommerwijnen and Suriname rivers. The yellow dot here on the map is Leonsberg. That's where we would leave with the boat. And then we would go up to the points in red, which all had different interesting properties. So there are some points, or there's a point after the convergence of the 2 rivers. There's some points before the convergence of the rivers, and actually even one that was, well, mostly on the actual convergence, depending on the tides. Some were placed in the mangroves, some more on the muddy plains, and also one at New Amsterdam, which was really interesting as the shore has been fortified with basalt rocks, which created a totally different environment from the others as well. So that would give us a good, nice gradient of different environments throughout these rivers.
Then for the live recordings, which were used to record the dolphins, you can see on the map the different dots, they represent the locations, and the colors represent the dates on which we recorded them. There's a lot of variation there as well. We would start recording when we spotted any dolphins, and then we stopped recording when they went away. And sometimes you were more lucky than other times. We used 2 Tascam recorders, one for high frequency and one for low frequency, which added up to a little less of 5 hours of continuous recording. And then lastly, we also talked to a lot of people to build a network, hopefully for years to come. You can see on the top right, Hans with the Surinamese students and with us. He gave a course on bioacoustics there at the university, which was a lot of fun. We talked to Monique, which is my supervisor for the dolphins. We talked to Thomas Willems for the fishes and the fishermen. We had contact with Rakesh, who breeds kwikwies in his backyard. Daniel, who provided us with a kayak so we could come close to the dolphins. And a lot of other people that played an important role in our internship.
Yeah, so then we are going on to what we actually saw underwater. With all the data we gathered through the sound traps, I am trying to discern different patterns in sound frequencies. Here we see a long-term spectral average. That is a way to cut up the data basically, or to in intervals of 5 minutes, an average is taken of the different frequencies that are heard, so that the data can be more manageable and patterns can be discerned. Unfortunately, that also takes quite a lot of energy and computing time. So I haven't actually yet finished all these long-term spectral averages and haven't been able to discern any patterns as of yet, because we're still analyzing the results. But you can see here what it would look like if so, and I'm sure we will be able to find some very interesting patterns, for example, with the tides or with the day and night cycle. Then I also looked for individual sounds of interest. And well, here we don't see any, but here we do see a spectrogram. On the top, you can see the time. So this is a recording of 4 hours in total. And it looks like a blank space, because that is. Sometimes the river is very quiet and there isn't all that much sound at all, or none, as in this case. But other times the river would be full of life, or very bustling at least. So first, some non-biogenic sounds of interest. Here we see the waves, for example. They create a very specific pattern. And as you can see, the pattern varies. It gets louder and then less loud, as you could expect with waves. And you see that in it turning a brighter hue of purple. And then if we look at, for example, boats, we get a very different picture, a very different spectrogram. Both of these are spectrograms of boats. The left one is a stationary boat, and the right one is a boat passing by in the distance. And especially with the boat passing by, you can see that the actual frequency of the sound lowers and then gets higher. And you can also hear that in the recording. I will be letting you hear this recording. Some recordings may be a little quiet or soft because the Suriname River is really big and we only had one point at a time where we could put a sound trap. So sometimes the sounds are a bit in the distance. So we try to amplify them and make them as hard as possible, but I would suggest that you put the microphone as hard, or the speaker as hard as you can. So that was a stationary boat. And that was the boat moving towards and away from the sound trap. I don't know if it was, if everyone could hear that. But we also found some biogenic sounds, which were probably produced by fish. For example, this squeak, or I like to call it squeak. It was very hard to hear. I had to put on a noise cancelling headphone to actually hear it, but it was very well visible on the spectrogram. It's only a millisecond, but it came back quite a lot throughout different recordings on different times. So that could very well be a fish that makes it sounds, or another biogenic sound source. And another source is, for example, this one. This was a little harder to place. It is a few short rhythmic bursts that for me sounded like a frog. But I'm unsure what this is. But it is very interesting, as it has the frequency up to 2000 hertz. Or no, 200 hertz. I'm sorry.
2000.
No, 2000, yeah. Which is a range that often fish can still hear. The human hearing range is up to 20,000 hertz, so 20 kilohertz. But fish can detect sounds often up to a lower frequency. But the fact that these sounds in the lower part of the spectrum are visible is very interesting. And then we have this sound, which was very, very interesting. On the left part, on the left spectrogram, you can see some very long but very short bars. Those are snapping shrimp, and you will hear them as this crackling fire, I think, and haardvuur. It's very calming and relaxing to listen to that for hours on end. Sometimes they are very, very vocal, if you will. But there's also, as you can see on the right spectrogram, this other sound that is a lot lower and very well defined as well. And that's probably a fish making a croaking sound. So I'll let you hear that as well. If it will load. So you can hear this, well, quite well audible croak, which is most probably a fish. So that's really interesting to have found.
Yeah, then for the dolphin sounds, I identified 3 different types of sounds, namely burst pulses, echolocation clicks, and whistles. And for the burst pulses, they look like this. And just for your information, that dolphins create very short sounds. So we're looking at audio files of, I think, max half a second here. So the sounds that I will play will also be very quick. So please pay attention. This is one of the burst pulses. And it's also, it's a little, that's what these types of sounds sounds like. And they're very recognizable by the very, we call them harmonics, but the many different layers of horizontal sound spectrum stacked on top of each other. And then on the whole other end of the spectrum, there's the echolocation clicks, which are very broadband sounds, but very, very short. These are also audible. They sound like snapping shrimp, but they go way higher up in frequency. This is also a very short audio file. So there's very short clicks very quickly after each other. And then lastly, there's the whistles, which look like this. I like to describe them as being able to draw a line through them. And these are very high sounds. As Michael already mentioned, that humans can hear up to 20 kilohertz. And whistles are often around that frequency or even higher. So this is what you hear when you don't alter the whistle sound. And these are the snapping shrimp that you hear, not the whistles. But when you alter the frequency of these whistles, you can make them audible. They're still very high, so don't pay attention to the snapping shrimp, but then you hear this. Which is very similar to what people often describe as dolphin sounds. But yeah, I cannot hear those when I listen to the recordings, unfortunately. I also analyzed the echolocation clicks themselves. You can see here that when you look at a lot of echolocation clicks after each other, that there's 3 very prominent bands. So these are the pink ones at around 20, 40, and 73 kilohertz. And this is a very unique energy distribution. So when there's a lot of energy at a certain frequency, then the color becomes more purple. And this distribution for these echolocation clicks differs per dolphin species. So this is very unique for the Guyana dolphin. Whereas, for example, if I would look at a bottlenose dolphin echolocation click, it would look very differently. And you can make a average spectrum of this distribution, which looks like this for these species. And you can very clearly see the peaks. The frequency is here on the x-axis, by the way, not on the y-axis. But you can see the peaks at 25, 40, and 73 kilohertz, which is a nice result for me. And then for the whistles, I categorized them based on what they look like. So this is these are two different recordings on 2 different days and 2 different times. But you can see that the individual whistles look very much alike. And this is what I did for all the whistles in my recordings. I compared them to each other to create whistle types, which is what I call them. So this is whistle type number 36 because they look alike. But here you can see, for example, whistle type number 157, and it's very different to number 36, but they are alike being number 157, if you know what I mean. Their contour is very similar. They have the same frequency. So this is what I did for all the whistles in the recordings. And then I also categorized those whistle types into categories based on the general shape. So for example, is the whistle ascending, is it descending, is it flat, or combinations of these 3 things, which led me to 29 different categories. I had in total 552 whistles into 177 whistle types and 29 categories, which you can see on the right. Go back. The whistle type for ascending whistles was very prominent. It consisted of the most abundant whistle type. And this is very normal in the Guyana dolphin, but it's not in other species. So this differs per dolphin species as well. On the bottom, you can see a ascending whistle from the Guyana dolphin from recordings we made ourselves. And on the top, you can see the most prominent whistle category for bottlenose dolphins, which is first ascending and then descending. So yeah, this is also an interesting way to discern which species you are talking about.
Yeah, and then lastly, I'd like to point you to further research because we have 3 external hard drives of 2 terabytes, and they are all 3 chock full of sound data. So that's way more than we could ever process during our master's internship. So there's so much more we can still get from this data. I'm, for example, now going to look into still the dolphins we recorded on the sound traps. We have recordings of 1 full week where we have heard dolphins, and it would be really interesting to see if we can see different patterns in when they cross that specific point. We also wanted to talk to local fishermen and go with them on the river. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we weren't able to, but these people have such a wealth of knowledge about the local fish, but also the dolphins and life on the river, because they live their life on the river for a good part. So combining their knowledge with a research done and maybe follow-up research would be very interesting and very valuable. I also think that this way of passive acoustic monitoring could be a great way to monitor the biodiversity and health of the life in the river in general for years to come.
And then what I also would like to find out is whether there's any link between the vocalizations that these dolphins make and their behavior or the environment. The Green Heritage Fund is doing very good work with measuring water quality, monitoring water quality, and this would be nice to link to the vocalizations that these dolphins make. Then we would like to thank a few people, especially Hans, Devika, Monique, and Thomas for supervising us, and of course everyone else that helped with our project. And then we would like to ask you if there are any questions.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, quite interesting and nice results. That's why I didn't step in for the time management. But
Sorry, yeah.
Yes.
yes, those few minutes were very interesting. And indeed, are there any questions? I see Miss Van Andel has a question.
Yeah, I wondered if these dolphins in the Suriname River, do they also go out in the sea, in the salt water?
Well, sorry, the live flash is on. Not really. They prefer brackish water, and the sea itself, it's very, the sea slope is very what's it called? Not steep.
No, it is very steep.
Oh, yeah,
They're quite a coastal species, and the coast of the Suriname coast, it deepens quite fast after a few kilometers. So they don't really travel all too far along the coast.
Okay,
so this population is quite sedentary in that way.
Okay, so you can also argue, well, if they start oil drilling, maybe these dolphins are not bothered so much because they spend most of the time on the river. I don't know if that is true.
Yeah, it's the oil drilling itself may for the dolphins not have a lot of implications, but the other wildlife in the sea may have or may will be impacted. But the increasing amount of traffic on the water can really very much influence what these dolphins, how they live and their welfare. So that's why it's important for this baseline to be created so we can monitor the species over a longer period of time with the increasing anthropogenic noise. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the sounds made by building the platforms or the increased vessel activities they may affect the community. But I think what Davine talked about, the oil spills are probably the largest threat because that will maybe come ashore and come into the estuary, and that's I think more of a threat than indeed the sound. But seismic surveys have taken place also in the river already, and they have looked into whether they could do this in a way that would be less disturbing for the dolphins. But yeah, they can go upstream or downstream, but that's kind of their flexibility, nothing more. But they're still there, and so that's all we can say, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
Any other question or suggestion?
No, so I should know, but the kwee that you showed was at a breeder. So did you record any kwee-kwees or not?
Yeah,
One.
Yeah, we made a recording of kwee-kwees just before they were going to breed. So at the beginning of the breeding time, we made a recording, but we haven't heard any kwee-kwee sounds.
No.
Yet. No, exactly. So we know of species that are closely related to these kwee-kwees that produce sounds. So we would expect them to also make sounds, but we haven't heard that yet. So that would be really interesting for someone else to tackle.
And the breeder was also very interested in that because it also helps him to predict when the kwee-kwees will maybe start breeding or become fertile. So yeah, he really wants to cooperate in the future as well.
Yeah. And I think the kwee-kwee's name is named after the sound it makes.
Yeah, so, exactly. After the sound they make. Yeah. So yeah, they should make sounds,
so
but we haven't.
Should be an interesting species to work on. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes, but I think that's the sound they make when they are out of the water.
Yeah, exactly. When they are picked up and out of the water, it's kind of their alarm call they make. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, I think we've come to the end of this seminar. I want to thank all the presenters and the participants for this. Taking some wrap up on all the presentations, we can conclude one thing, and that is that all of them have underscored the importance of oral sources, and that like Professor Fernando said, we have to take that into account and report that also. Are there any other suggestions from Hans?
No,
Perhaps?
thanks a lot. Next edition will be on the 7th of January. So in half a year, we have already some speakers, but if people say, yes, I would like to give a presentation, then you're welcome to send a suggestion, and we will inform you of any updates on the program. So thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you all, and bye.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.